Part 1. Suspicion whispers softly. Alex sat at the kitchen table, swirling cold coffee in his cup as the morning sunlight spilled through the windows. His wife, Emily, hummed softly while preparing breakfast. Eggs, toast, everything just like any other day. But something was wrong. He couldn't pinpoint exactly when the feeling began. Maybe it was the way she smiled less, or how her phone never left her hand anymore. She used to laugh at his jokes, touch his arm as she passed by. Now she barely looked up from her screen. "You're quiet today," Emily said, placing his plate in front of him. "Just tired," Alex replied with a practiced smile. Late night. It wasn't a lie. He had been awake until 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying every small detail that seemed off. They had been married for 7 years. Their relationship had once been passionate, full of shared dreams and whispered plans in the dark. But lately, she seemed distant, present in body, absent in soul. Alex wasn't the jealous type. But a week ago, he'd noticed a strange notification on her phone while she was in the shower. A name he didn't recognize, Liam Wineglass. It vanished quickly, but not from his memory. Since then, he'd watched, listened, studied. Every moment between them felt like a performance now, and he couldn't decide whether she was the actress or he was the fool. That evening, while Emily was at her weekly yoga class, Alex opened her laptop. She never used it anymore, always on her phone, but it was still synced with her email. He felt the guilt rise in his throat like bile, but he pushed it down. You don't open a door unless you're ready to see what's on the other side. The inbox was clean, too clean. But the trash folder? He clicked. Hundreds of deleted messages, some mundane, some cryptic. One subject line stopped him cold. "Last night was unforgettable. Let's do it again soon. Liam Wineglass." Alex sat frozen. The words weren't graphic, but the intimacy in their simplicity burned more than any photo could. He clicked again. There were no pictures, just words. Always late at night. Always deleted by morning. He wanted to believe it was innocent, a misunderstanding, maybe an old friend, maybe a joke. But deep down, he already knew. The next day, Alex installed a discreet app on her phone while she showered, tracking messages, locations, calls. It was a line he never imagined he'd cross. But betrayal has a way of justifying darkness. For a week, he watched. She went to yoga, but her location said otherwise, a downtown hotel. Same one, same room, every Thursday. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just stared at the blinking on his phone, each pulse confirming what his heart already accepted. She was cheating on him. The woman he married. The woman he built a life with. The woman who once called him her home. That night, she returned smelling of vanilla and someone else's cologne. She kissed his cheek, asked about his day, and curled up beside him like everything was fine. And Alex? He held her gently, whispered, "I love you," and stared at the ceiling. His mind wasn't on revenge. Not yet, but something had changed inside him. A quiet shift, a coldness. She had opened the door, and now he was walking through it. Part 2. A mask of love. The next morning, Alex acted normal. He kissed Emily on the forehead, packed her favorite granola bar in her purse, and even complimented her new earrings, ones he hadn't bought. She smiled, and for a brief second, he saw the woman he fell in love with. But then her eyes darted to her phone, and her fingers danced quickly across the screen, typing something. Maybe to him. She had become an actress in her own life, rehearsing lines, playing scenes, and believing he couldn't see the cracks beneath her performance. But Alex saw everything now. He started documenting, not because he wanted to confront her, but because he wanted to control the moment it all unraveled. The GPS logs, the deleted texts, the hotel visits, the late-night classes. He compiled them into a folder named Tuesday. Though none of it had anything to do with that day, he bought a small camera and installed it in her car while she slept. He wired their bedroom with a voice-activated recorder. He even bought burner phones to communicate with a private investigator, who, by the end of the week, had captured pictures of Emily entering room 608 with a tall, well-dressed man with a smug, careless grin. Liam, a walking cliché of temptation.
Tan sud.
Tan face.
Tan soul.
One night, Emily came home humming. She smelled like champagne. She kissed Alex a little softer than usual. "Thinking about taking a trip," she said while sipping wine. "Just a few days away. Maybe with the girls. We could both use a break." Alex nodded. "Sounds nice." Inside he burned. Not with anger but with clarity. He wasn't just dealing with a cheating spouse. He was living with a liar who thought he was too blind, too soft, too comfortable to notice. She was planning to vanish for 3 days and return with a lie so polished it would shine. He smiled. "Take all the time you need." That night, Alex did something he never thought he'd do. He reached out to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Rachel, his ex-girlfriend. They had parted amicably long ago, but he knew she still worked in family law. Discreet, brilliant, ruthless when needed. She didn't ask for details. Just said, "You sure?" "Yes." Rachel didn't push. "Then let's build the plan." It wasn't about custody. They had no kids. It wasn't about money. They both earned well. It was about truth. And truth, Alex decided, should be revealed with precision. No fights. No yelling. Just silence. Cold. Inevitable. The next Thursday, Emily left for her trip. Alex waited exactly 40 minutes after she checked into the hotel with Liam. Then he sent a scheduled email to her parents. Her sister. Her boss. Her friends. Subject: "Thought you should know." Inside, screenshots. Photos. GPS logs. A timeline. Her lies lined up like dominoes. He didn't write a single word. Just evidence. He also scheduled a delivery. Flowers to room 608 with a handwritten note. To Liam, "Take care of what was never really yours. A." Then he packed a suitcase. Not because he was leaving the house. Because she was. That night, Alex slept alone. No more pretending. No more masks. And for the first time in months, he slept deeply. Because the silence between them was finally honest. Part 3. The Collapse. Emily returned Sunday evening. Hair curled. Skin glowing. A new bracelet on her wrist. She walked into the house like nothing had changed. Like her world hadn't been scorched to the foundation just hours before. Alex was in the kitchen cooking pasta. She smiled. "Miss me?" He turned, wiping his hands on a towel. Of course. It was almost funny, how easily she slipped back into the role of wife, partner, companion. But the silence in the house had shifted. A current ran beneath their words. She could feel it. She just didn't understand it yet. The messages started rolling in while she showered. Her sister, Emily, "What the hell is going on?" Her mom, "Please tell me this is some sick mistake. Call me now." Her boss, "We'll need to discuss your personal conduct immediately. I'll be in touch." And then finally from Liam, "What the F***K did you do? My wife saw everything. My kids hate me. You said he didn't know." The sound of her phone buzzing, over and over, echoed from the bedroom like a ticking bomb. She came out in a towel, face pale. "Alex, did you?" He stirred the sauce gently. "Dinner's almost ready." "Alex, answer me. Did you send something to?" He looked at her then. Calm. Measured. "I told the truth." She flinched. "You had no right." "I had every right," he said quietly. "I gave you space. I gave you trust. I gave you everything. And you gave someone else what was never theirs to take." Her lip trembled. "You went through my phone? Spied on me?" He set the spoon down. "Don't try to flip this. You lit the match. I just pointed to the fire." Emily tried to cry. She reached for guilt, for excuses, stress, loneliness. It just happened. And all the tired cliches of betrayal. Alex didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He simply handed her an envelope. Inside, divorce papers. Already signed. Already prepared. She looked at him in disbelief. You planned this?" He met her gaze. "I gave you months to come clean. You never did. So yes, I planned the end of the lie." The next day she was gone. Not just emotionally, physically. Her clothes, her makeup, her presence. Alex walked through the quiet house, half expecting it to feel empty. But it didn't. Felt lighter, like a storm had passed and left clarity in its wake. At work, he kept to himself. Some co-workers whispered. A few offered quiet nods of support. One woman he barely knew left a sticky note on his desk. You didn't deserve that. Stay strong. It meant more than he expected. That night, Rachel called. Everything's in motion, clean and tight. She can't take anything more than what's fair. Good. She'll try to play the victim now. I know. You okay? Alex paused. Then, with a breath, I'm not broken, just rebuilding. Rachel smiled through the line. Brick by brick. He wasn't looking for revenge anymore. That part of him was already done. Now it was about peace. And peace, he was learning, begins when the noise ends. Part 4. Echoes of the past. 3 weeks passed. Emily was gone. Physically, legally, emotionally. But the echoes of her betrayal still lingered in the small things. Her mug on the shelf. The faint scent of her perfume on the hallway rug. A half-used bottle of shampoo in the guest bathroom. Alex didn't throw these things out in rage. He left them for a while almost as reminders. Not of her, but of what he had survived. One Friday evening, he received an email. No subject line.
No greeting.
Just 3 words. Are you happy? It was from Emily. He didn't respond. Later that night, he sat on the back porch with a glass of bourbon, listening to the distant hum of traffic. For the first time in a long while, there was nothing to hide, no suspicion lurking in the corners of his mind. He thought he'd feel bitter. Instead, he felt free. The next morning, Rachel stopped by. Not professionally, just to check in. They hadn't seen each other in years before all this, but old familiarity had slowly started to return. I was in the neighborhood, she said, holding 2 coffees. You still take it black? Like my soul, he joked. She smirked. Don't get dramatic. You're doing better than most. They sat in the kitchen, talking about anything but Emily, childhood, travel, books they never finished reading. Felt human, uncomplicated. Alex realized then how much effort he had poured into pretending things were okay with Emily. How much silence he had endured. How much space he had made for someone who filled it with lies. Rachel looked around. Place feels different. It is. Cleaner. Quieter. She nodded. Sometimes quiet is good. That night, Alex deleted Emily's contact for the last time. No more reading old texts. No more wondering what if. The past had happened. It had left scars. But scars meant healing had begun. The next few days came with small victories. He changed the sheets. He rearranged the furniture. He painted one wall blue just because he could. Each act wasn't about her anymore. It was about reclaiming the life he had once surrendered, piece by piece. But then something unexpected happened. One evening, as he returned from a run, a car was waiting outside. Emily. Her hair was shorter, her eyes darker. She stepped out slowly, unsure. I just wanted to talk, she said. Alex stood still. Why? I need closure. I need to explain. There's nothing left to explain. She fidgeted. You don't have to forgive me, but I need you to understand. I never planned for any of this. I felt lost. I felt invisible. Alex's voice was calm. And instead of speaking to me, you gave yourself to someone else. Tears welled in her eyes. I was wrong. He nodded. Yes, you were. A long pause. I miss you, she whispered. He didn't flinch. You missed the version of me who didn't know. Emily's shoulders slumped. The mask had fully slipped now. I thought maybe we could talk sometimes. Maybe start over. Alex looked at her. For a moment, the weight of years pressed on him. The memories, the laughter, the life they had built. Then he said softly, I've already started over. You're not part of that chapter. She blinked rapidly, then turned back to her car. Alex didn't watch her drive away. He just closed the door behind him and smiled. Part 5, The Quiet Rebuild. 3 months had passed since Emily last stood on his doorstep. Since then, Alex had begun living, not just surviving. He woke up early now, not out of stress or suspicion, but to enjoy the sunrise over the backyard. He read books he'd long forgotten on his shelf, went on weekend hikes, and even signed up for a photography class. The silence in his house was no longer hollow. It was peaceful. The betrayal no longer consumed him. It had become a scar, not invisible but no longer bleeding. One Saturday morning, while browsing a bookstore downtown, Alex noticed someone at the end of the aisle. Rachel. This time it wasn't chance. She smiled. "You always did like the nonfiction section. I like knowing how things actually fall apart," he joked. She held up a book. "Starting Again, The Psychology of Closure." They both laughed. "Coffee?" he asked. "Only if you don't analyze my reading choices." "Deal." That afternoon, they sat by the window of a quiet cafe, talking like old friends. Not as lawyer and client, not as wounded and caretaker, but as two people who had both seen life at its ugliest and were still standing. Rachel leaned back. "So, how are you really?" Alex stirred his drink. "Better than I expected. Worse than I hoped. But moving." She nodded. "That's all any of us can do." There was a pause. Peaceful one. "Do you think," he asked slowly, "that people like us can trust again?" Rachel smiled softly. "I think trust isn't given. It's built, brick by brick. Like you said." That night, Alex walked into his home, turned on the lights and looked around. Not with sorrow, but with clarity. He walked into the living room, opened his laptop, and clicked on a folder. Tuesday. The evidence. The photos. The logs. He hovered over it for a moment, then deleted it all. Not out of forgiveness, but because he no longer needed it. Emily's betrayal had once defined him. Now it was just something that had happened, not who he was. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Handwritten. No return address. It was from Emily. "Alex, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, and I accept that. I just want to say thank you. Not for what I did, never that, but for how you responded. You could have destroyed me. You didn't. You chose truth over rage and silence over chaos. I've started therapy. I'm not writing to fix anything. Just to let you know. I'm trying to become someone I can look in the mirror again. Take care of yourself. You deserve peace." Alex folded the letter once and placed it in a drawer. He didn't know if he believed her, but that wasn't his concern anymore. What mattered was his own peace. And it was finally here. That weekend he met Rachel again, this time not by accident. They laughed louder now, talked longer. The weight between them had lessened. Neither of them mentioned the past that much anymore. Not because it didn't matter, but because they were finally building something new. Together. And this time Alex wasn't looking over his shoulder. He was looking forward. The end.